What is happening, Blades? And welcome back to the Blades Ramble. Blades are in business. We have started our business. And to be honest, like most of you will know, I put out my plan for Jan yesterday, day before. I put it out very recently, and it's already dated, which I said in the videos because I knew it would be. Thank you for all the kind comments on those, by the way. Very much appreciated. I seem to be saying the same sort of things, but it's been very positive recently, which is really nice, and I appreciate everybody's comments and feedback, and it's nice to be able to have the time to interact with you on those sort of things. But since I've done that video, there's been loads of sort of, what's happening with this? Is that going to be I've just seen on Twitter tonight, it's been sent to us in Ramblers chat, that it looks, somebody's put on, just heard that we're going to sign Sam Johnston on loan and buy Victor Johansson for $5 million and loan him back to Millers. That's exactly what I'd said that I would like to do. And listen, if it's going to happen, I will be over the moon. But it reeks of somebody hearing a little bit, probably from someone else, about what I'd suggested and thinking it's a real rumour. And it's silly season, isn't it, with rumours and gossip. But what do we know? What do we know that's happened already? We know that Harrison Neal has been recalled from Stevenage, which we knew at the time that I was recording, but he's now gone on a permanent deal to Carlisle. And that sort of sparks a question in itself, because I saw a lot of people quite upset about this. I know that Nick put a tweet out saying that he was surprised. You know, he didn't claim to know an awful lot about what had gone off, but he was surprised that Harrison Neal were allowed to let go because of all the rave reviews that he were getting. And I've got to say, when I saw him playing in the first team, he looked good. But having said that, what we have to remember is we're in the Premier League at the moment. Look, chances are we might be in the Championship next year, but he wasn't getting in at League One Stevenage. So there's got to be a reason for that. If he was good enough, he would have forced his way into that side. If he's going to be around a Championship player and be involved for us, he's got to get into these sort of sides and make your loan deal work. You look at what Ollie Arblaster did. I'm pretty sure, you may correct me on this because I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure, because I was looking for it, he started on the bench for Port Vale and he forced his way into the first team and he made that loan work for him. The other thing about Harrison Neal is he'll be 23 soon. So as much as he's a product of our academy, his development hasn't accelerated at the rate we'd want. So, yeah, it's a shame in some ways to see that one of our youth players, isn't going to be progressing through our ranks. But you've got to be very good. You've got to be and we're fortunate that we've got such good prospects at our club. And that will only, if we can get to that Category 1 status, that'll only solidify our development of these younger players. But Harrison Neal clearly wasn't deemed as being up to it anytime soon, because if he was, we'd have loaned him back to another League One club and see if he could get minutes there and put more time into it. But how long do you wait? Do you wait till he's 25, 26 and going to be a really late bloomer? I think we trust the judgment of the manager on this one and wish him all the best. I don't know what the fee is. It's not been publicised. I didn't read the press release, if I'm honest. But it's never publicised nowadays. I will be amazed, absolutely amazed, if we haven't got a strong sell on. I would expect it to be a minimal fee, if a fee at all, and then we'll have a really strong sell on. A little bit like somebody was saying in chat, like the Ben Whiteman deal to Preston, the Regan Slater deal to Hull. So it's them sort of deals that I think we're looking at, which if he does well, then the club will benefit as well. So I think it's a smart move on the Harrison Neal shout. One that's split opinion a little bit. Benny Traore's also been confirmed now as a Nantes player, and I believe he's playing or played tonight for Nantes in the cup or whatever they're playing in tonight. He started for them. Fair play to Benny. I hope he goes on and does really well for him. I'm slightly torn on this one to a degree. He's very slight. He didn't have the physical presence that I think you need at this level. I think he was way off it, really, by the time he got here. But you can't say there wasn't raw talent there. And I think if he'd have come through our youth system, I'd probably be a little bit more upset that we've let him go, because there's an option to buy in this loan deal for those of you that aren't aware. What I can confirm is that the option to buy, it does not see us any worse off financially. So the outlay that we paid, if Nantes choose to make that a permanent deal, we are no worse off as a club. We've broken even, essentially. So the kicker for me is, and the bit that doesn't add up, is we haven't got the finances now to bleed back into the squad. But I suppose if it's made permanent, that's 3.94 million quid that we're not going to have to try and claw back next season. And if they choose not to purchase him, then he comes back, hopefully, a better player, having played half a season in league. So the big one today that was confirmed around 11 o'clock, Ben Brereton Diaz has joined Sheffield United, essentially as a huge upgrade for Benny. 24, I think he is. That's just guessing off the top of my head, because again, I haven't read the press release. I've come straight from my working day to jump on. But from all the stuff we were looking at previously, he's a wide left forward, as we know. I think he fits in superbly well with the way that Wilder has been playing, trying to put Cam Archer on that left-hand side. And this is Ben Brereton Diaz's natural position as a left forward. So hopefully Cam goes back to the point of the attack with McAtee on the right-hand side. I just think it's made for... Look, cards on the table. I'm not, oh my God, this is brilliant. I do think it's a bit of a coup because he was very much sought after when he first went to Villarreal. I don't think he's the absolute superstar he was made out to be even back then. I think he went through a bit of a purple patch, but a prolonged purple patch that shows me that he's got the ability to do it. So I back anybody under Chris Wilder to come good. So I have every faith that Ben Brereton Diaz improves us. I'm just a little bit, I want to sort of temper my expectations and maybe yours a little bit. I don't think he's going to come in and completely change the dynamic. Some have said, I've seen online that, he's a massive upgrade on Ollie McBurney. He's not coming as a McBurney replacement. No way. Different players. Ollie McBurney will play at the point of the attack. If we're playing one up top, he will not play wide left like Ben Brereton Diaz will, even though they're two big lads. They're not like for like in that respect. Different players for different systems. But I think it will prove to be a really shrewd signing for us. What Wilder wanted was 2 to 3, hopefully 3, maybe a little bit more first team additions this window. And I think Ben Brereton Diaz gives us that. He certainly gets it. He's in our best 11 for me. The other thing I wanted to talk about, the other one that I hear is quite close, is Izzy Koulibaly moving on. I don't think many of us will lose too much sleep over that. It's a shame that it hasn't worked out for the lad, but when we're talking about levelling up and having players that can really impact the first team, you want to see your bench full of game changers. And if Izzy Koulibaly's on the bench, nobody's sat there thinking, brilliant, he can come on and change this game for us. And that's unfortunate. And maybe some would say he hasn't been given a fair shake. Others might say he's had massive injury problems that have contributed towards that. And I get both points, but sometimes it just doesn't work out, does it? So I think that makes sense to me. We're also listening to offers from John Fleck, from what I understand. Contract offers and negotiations are said to be going well with a number of players. I haven't got any names for you. It won't be right, I don't think, at this stage, but we're progressing well on some contracts. We're also going to be looking ahead to Gillingham. I loved Wilder's presser. He's basically come out, for those that haven't seen it, I'm sure most of you have, he's come out and he said, this is not a gimme. This is not something that I'm going to just roll up to him because I'm prioritising the league. This is a final test for some of these players to show what they're about, show their commitment, show what they can offer us as a club. So players like, I mean, Larouchi's gone to AFCON now, but you'd have thought he'd be in that mix to sort of say, I'm deserving of a place in this squad. He said he's going to go with his strongest team, but not risk anybody that's potentially going to be injured. So I think like McBurney, I think he maybe rests Baldock, who's been having a few niggling little injuries. I'm going to show you already. I wasn't going to pull this up this early, but this is my team for Gillingham. I'm going Wes in goal in what might be his final appearance for us. Bogle, who has played really well under Chris Wilder so far. Anel, Jackie Longthrow and Trusty as a solid back four. I'm playing 3 in midfield, or a 4-5-1 if you want to look at it that way, but it's more a 3 in midfield. Andre Brooks, Big Vinny Souza and Gus Hamer with James McAtee and new signing, Ben Brereton Diaz, either side of Cameron Archer. I just think that is close to our strongest team. Yeah, it's exciting. I think he'll go for it. I think a positive result tomorrow will go a long way towards building morale and showing what we're about. I think we'll win, and I think we'll win well tomorrow. I certainly hope so, obviously, but I'm not one for chucking these cup games away, particularly when you're on a bad run in the league. Some see it as a distraction. I see it as a chance at building momentum personally. So let me know what you think. Let me know if your team's a similar one. The other one I just wanted to chuck into the mix just because it's very current. It's just happened as just before I've come on. I've just seen Billy Sharp's interview with the local media in Hull as he's their latest signing, obviously. Still quite raw about leaving Sheffield United. Feels like he was told by the manager he wanted to stay. He knows the manager wanted to keep Ender, and that wasn't allowed to happen. What are your thoughts on that? I don't know whether that's down to Eki, should have managed their expectations a little bit better, whether that's down to Billy being a bit naive in terms of he wasn't getting much game time in the Championship. Did he really think he was definitely going to be nailed on for a contract in the Prem? Is that the ownership who's not communicated that directly to Eki about early enough about who's not going to be considered? I think a lot. Well, it won't surprise you to think. I think a lot of it falls to the manager to sort of say, you can't be saying to him, "I'd love to keep you, but it's their fault." You've got to manage up as well, up and down. That's just my personal opinion. So let's see what you guys have to say, because it's been another busy day for Sheffield United. Oh, we're not used to this, are we? Going early in transfer window. It's great. It's really positive and hopefully keeps going, because there's some big changes already. Simon starts us off. Credit to Ben Burton Diaz. He's picked up the language quickly. Flash in the pan, but certainly an upgrade. Despite benefits of finishing 18th or 19th, would still prefer players that will be here next season. Yeah, Simon raises a good point there, because it's something I touched on. I don't know whether I touched on it in the videos that I recorded, but I know I've mentioned it to people in the group, that it was something Darren raised. Darren Smith first pointed out, and it's a very good point that I hadn't even considered initially. Finishing 18th and 19th as opposed to 20th, are lucrative. So it's $2.5 million per position as you go up the league. So there's a difference between finishing 20th and finishing 18th. There's a £5 million difference. So if we spend less than $2.5 million on 3 quality loans and finish 19th, then we've not lost any money. But if you think those 3 players have had a significant impact, I agree with you, Simon, to a degree. I would prefer for us to look at longer term options further down the line, but they're going for it out there. And who are we to resist going for it this season, even if it's just short-termism? Chirac, welcome back, pal. Not excited by this signing at all. We turn prolific goal scorers into duds, such as Archer and McBurney, Brewster, etc. This guy don't even score anymore. Won't even get 10 shots at goal by the end of the season. I'll take that bet. I haven't. Oh, John says, conversely, I haven't felt this positive about a signing for years. Could end up looking daft saying it, but it just feels right at this moment in time. Let's talk about Ben Baby. Let's talk about BBD. Let's talk about all the good things and the bad things. Nice. I like that. Diaz gives us something different, says Daz, to what we have. More options in the formation, because he ain't prolific as a goal scorer. No, he ain't prolific. I'll give you that. He was at one point in his career for Blackburn. But yeah, he does give us more options up front. A few have said like he's not going to work up top in a 2. He probably won't play up top in a 2. Like we've said, he's a left forward that likes to come inside. I think Wilder's even mentioned that in one of his more recent interviews. Dave says, feel it's a pretty risk-free loan for us. Hopefully he can settle in quickly. Hardest places to fill, especially with limited resources. I completely agree, pal. Strikers are a premium, or forwards are a premium. It's a foreign loan, even though he's a domestic player, essentially, even though he's a Chile international. He's a domestic player at Strictly Inti, so he can fit into the culture really quickly. I think it's a smart deal. I do. Mr. V, good evening, pal. Very exciting signing. If he can regain his form and score 6 to 10 goals in the remaining fixtures, it's been a success. Also, hear a rumour that Sam Johnston could be on his way. Big improvement on Wes. I'm not sure about this Sam Johnston thing. As I said, I don't know if somebody's seen the plan for Jan and put 2 and 2 together, and maybe it's got lost in translation somewhere. Steve says it's a great swap around. Benny off to France and we get Bradley. It's because somebody called him Bradley Dack earlier and it's made me laugh and it's thrown me. Ben Burton Diaz. I agree. That's what it is. It's basically been an upgrade on Benny, hasn't it? And that's no slight on Benny. It's just who's ready. They're at different points in their career, aren't they? And they're very different players. So yeah, I think it's a great move for United. Club has been ruthless in not allowing players to see out their contracts. In not allowing, do you think Bradley? I'm gonna have to stop with that. That's going to annoy me. BBD's arrival points to McBurney heading out. No, I don't actually. I don't think they're the same player. I think they're different types of player. For one, they're both lanky forwards. That's probably the only similarity, though. I think it'll be good to get them both in the same team when Archer's not available, because I think Archer's got to start over McBurney for me. But that's a different discussion for a different day. I don't think it necessarily means McBurney's heading out because they're not like for like. It's not like Brereton Diaz is a replacement for McBurney. Maybe if you were a permanent signing, it might be a discussion. But at the minute, both contracts run out at end of season, don't they? They're in the same boat in some ways. Great videos, Jimmy, on the plan for Jan. Thank you, pal. Great start for us. Need a player for each position now. Yeah, we do. But that's the ideal, isn't it? That's what everybody wants. But it depends what position, depends what formation you're going to play. I think it's more important. I mean, I think it was Rafa Benitez that first brought that, didn't he? He wants 2 players challenging for every position. And we've been fortunate with the right wing-back position for so many years that we've had George and Jayden challenging for that role. And it's been a luxury position for us. But I think it's more important for us to be fluid in the system. So that's okay because both can play right back. But do you need 6 centre-backs? So you've got 2 central centre-backs, 2 right centre-backs, 2 left centre. Because if you move to a flat back 4, you won't need that many centre-halves in the club. And we can't have there's not enough places for 2 players for every different type of formation. So I think it's better to be fluid. You look at a player like Trusty, who can play left back and centre back and left centre back of a 3. I think the smarter signings are those sort of players, if you like. So Brad, I've talked about Ben Brereton Diaz as a left forward. That's not his only position. I think that's his strongest position, and that's where he found a lot of his success. But he could play through the middle if we wanted him to, because he can adapt. Some guy on Twitter said basically everything you said in your plan for Jan. Had to correct him. Thank you, pal. I saw you correcting him as well. But at least you know he watches your video. Yeah, it's always nice to know that people are watching. Evening, Andrew. Personally, I think Ben Brereton Diaz is a good signing, worth a good punt. Just need the other positions sorting. We shall see. We've not lost out, have we? Probably a little chunk of cash. But I think when Premier League survival is on the menu, and I know it's a bit pie in the sky at the moment, but who knows what sort of kickstart this lad could give us. Didn't work for us, did he? Just too small for such a physical league. This is Benny. Absolutely, Eden. And he didn't abuse or use his pace as much as he should. Yeah. Chirac says he'd have killed it in the champ with Benny. I agree. I think he'd have probably performed a lot better in the champ. I was hoping, because I'd heard that Wilder agrees that he'd have done well in the championship. I was surprised. I expected him to go out on loan in January, but I would have expected him to go to the championship with half an eye on him playing for us in the championship next year, because I think he'll do well at that level, but we'll see. All right, Jimmy, Rotherham playing at 7:30. Will you be watching? Just to see how your new keeper gets on. We know all about him, don't we? So we don't need to be watching Victor. Whether he's going to be our new keeper or not, watch this space. Who knows? Who knows? Good bit of business for Brereton Diaz. Hopefully we'll get a centre-half and a goalie in. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Top man. We need a keeper. Sorry for any West fans out there, but we need a goalkeeper. Dino says Wilder's in charge now, so trust him to do his job. I think there'll be more than Harrison Neal going out from our academy. It's how it works, as long as we keep the best of them. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Oh, sorry, we've read that one. I think you repeated that one, pal. Chirac, what's Benny shown so far to indicate he would rip up the championship? I think to answer for Chirac there, because I don't know whether he answers later on, but I just think he's got a lot of the pace is the thing that stands out, isn't it? We know that he's got a lot of goals at admittedly quite a poor level on reflection. So there's something there. It's just to see this season how he'd have got on in the championship would have been really interesting, in my opinion. No finances, says Gumbo. So where's all the Premiership money? And what about the parachute payments when relegated? So I discussed this briefly with the Prince in our interview. Oh, do you mean where's all the Premiership money? Do you mean for the rebuild? If you mean for the rebuild, then that's why I put to sell an L. I don't want to sell an L, but I do think he's been disappointing. And I think for the price we could probably get for him, it'd be worth doing it. So we could do the business. And the parachute payments, when relegated, are all factored into what we have to accrue back. So everything that we need, we've got a set amount that we need to sell or we need to get to or recoup if we're relegated. Once we're relegated. Dearie me. When's Podolski signing? Same time as Firmino, I think, Paul. Not happening. Not happening. Alan says, get rid of McBurney. I've never been a fan. Let's get a few million for him. Not sure how many even. If a couple, and try and get a good loan signing who works. He splits opinion, doesn't he, Ollie McBurney? And I understand it. David Vinter says, we need a keeper. Priority for me. Schmeichel or Johansson are both better than Wes. Schmeichel definitely was. I just don't know how he's going to be now. I haven't seen enough of him, admittedly, recently. Burton Diaz a good option. May see McBurney sold. I don't think it will. Raise cash for another holding midfielder or centre cover. The only way McBurney leaves is if he doesn't sign another contract. We've got a contract in front of him, which we all know about. So if he signs that, which we're hoping he does, then he stays, doesn't he? Or he at least solidifies some value in himself if we want to reevaluate that in the summer. So we'll see. He's got the option to sign for Rangers, who he's a fan of now, on a free if he wants to. And they aren't short of a coin or two. So if he does sign, you've got to think that it's with a bit of loyalty involved as well, which is rare in football, which is a whole different video. For me and Jan says, Ollie, we should sign Johnston and Schmeichel, Michael Keane, Jack Redoni, and Danny Ings. We're not going Johnston and Ings would have to be loans because we're not going to, or Keane. Those three, we're not going to fork out. Johnston won't be for sale. He'll be available for loan, if at all. Keane and Ings, we're not going to buy, are we? So they'd have to be domestic loan. Hope all is well, Jimmy. It is, pal. Hope it is with you too. Do you see many leaving this window, i.e. Fleck, Norwood, McBurney? I think Norwood and McBurney will stay. Because I think you would have to consider Norwood, and he's another one that splits opinion, but as an asset in the Championship. I don't think to start now at this stage, but I think he's a squad player for us in the Championship if we're relegated. I think John Fleck leaves this window. For me, best thing about Burton Diaz signing is freeing up Camacho playing his natural role. I agree. I'm excited probably more about that than I am Diaz coming in. I'm just skipping past a few of these comments. We're shout out to Ian. I'm going to get Ian on as a mod, so we'll sort that out soon. Jebo contract looking likely to be extended, according to Danny Hall. And Wilder spoke about it, saying we'll see him in a Blades shirt again. Absolutely right. What's been reported, and I understand it to be same. Not that I've got any extra info because I haven't, but I'm hearing similar things in terms of Jebo contract negotiations are going well, which is it's a bit of a U-turn from where things were going. Jebo's an interesting one because some people rate him, some people don't. I think whenever he's a young player and they haven't quite reached the heights that you want them to, and I've just sort of said opposite about Harrison Neal, but strikers are a premium and he's still a young lad. I think he's only 20. And he's come through academy, like we say, so we always want to try and nurture him if we can. If we can get Jebo tied down to a new contract, I think it's a really good bit of business because even if he doesn't go on to make the player that we all want him to become, at least he holds some value then. And the danger for us was that he only wanted to sign a new contract. From what I understand, this is back when Hecky was in charge. He only wanted to sign a new contract with us if he was going to be guaranteed to be involved in the first team. And you've got to say that's fair enough for a player on the cusp of the first team who's sought after by Premier League clubs. We know that Everton have previously been in for him. Other big clubs are looking at him in terms of we could take him under our wing and send him out. So if there's the chance for him to sign for an Everton, for example, who are most likely going to be in the Premier League next year on a really good contract, they can loan him out to the Championship and he'll play, I would have thought. Why would he sign with us instead and then get loaned out to the Championship when he could go to a Premier League, a stronger Premier League side that's guaranteed to be paying him Premier League money? He's not going to have a reduction in his wages, all that sort of stuff. So that was the argument. He wouldn't stay with us if our plan was to loan him back out. So the fact that he's even in talks to renew his contract must mean that Wilder sees him as part of the first team setup. And that makes me think, if we've got Archer, McBurney, Asula, and Jebo in and around the first team, probably looking at bringing in one more. Whether we do or not, I don't know, but I know that's been sort of umming and ahhing. Does that mean Brewster is the one to go out on loan and try and get some games under his belt? Because I think that's really good for Brewster if that happens. Send him to the Championship, give him a run of 20 games and see how he gets on. So there's real good options here. Real good options. Get rid of McBurney, says Al. Oh, we've said that as well. You've repeated yourself as well. Can't hit a barn door from 10 yard. I know somebody very close to me that would agree with you, pal. It's exactly the team me and my boys were talked about earlier. Let's get it up again then, Ian. Let's get it up again. If for those that haven't seen it, this is my team for Gillingham. What do we think? You can't see because of his comment. Let me try and get that off as well. What do we think? So we've got Wes, Bogle, Anel, Jackie Longthrow and Trusty, Gus, Big Vinny and Andre Brooks, Archer at the point of the attack with James McAtee and Ben Brereton Diaz either side of him. And I tell you what, if you're Gillingham and you see that team rock up, you're not happy, are you? You're not happy, and nor should they be. I've completely lost my place now, but I was excited to get that back up on screen because I think it's a really strong team. Oh, we're back. I've got you. Andrew says he hopes Jebo moves on. Nice kid, but clearly an issue. I don't think so. I'm not saying he'll definitely make it as a top player, but at least he's not getting the Calvert-Lewin treatment, is he? So, leaving for £1 million and then going on to be a superstar for somebody else. All right. Scotty just putting me back in my box. Sousa and Ellen Trusty all missing from training, and Gus may have a knock. Right. Well, I'll have to rethink that then, won't I? If that's the case, then we will get to see some rotation. But he did talk about playing his strongest team, and those four, Sousa, Anel Trusty, and Gus being doubtful is news to me. So, could you see us bringing in a proper striker on loan, presuming that Brereton Diaz will play out on the left? I could, yeah, I could. I think we'll be bringing in a centre half. So whether that's going to be our Premier League loan, I'm not sure. We'll see. Chris, I saw you mention this earlier, and I think you put it in comments on one of the videos. Ousmane Diamande from Sporting Lisbon is a decent defender. I'll take your word for it, pal. I'll take your word for it. Gillingham has come at a good time, says Andy. It'll be interesting. I agree. I think it's a really good time to play him, a really good time to, hopefully, and this is no disrespect to Gillingham, but that team that we've just put up, even if we have to make a couple of changes to it, that should be beating Gillingham quite comprehensively. Need a good solid centre half, a brick wall of a centre midfielder and a goalkeeper. Get each one of them in this window will be a success. Just hope Diaz can get a few goals and a few points. I think if we get two of those three, I think it's been a success, because I think a lot would agree, particularly if Koulibaly and Fleck go out as well. I think a lot would agree that that's a lot of dead wood, and I don't mean that nastily, but that's how I feel, has gone. Happy with Diaz. Need that left-hand side front man. Needed that left-hand side of front man. I like the front three of the ones that we've talked about. Evening, Ian. Agree. Great chance to build some confidence. Would be nice to get a few goals and get the ball rolling. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Top man. We need a player to replace Jock. Losing Jock was the main reason we went down, in my opinion. Such a big loss and not replaced yet. How difficult is it to replace Jock, though? And it depends what formation you're going to play as well, doesn't it, Paul? If you're going to play the flat three and you want that overlapping centre-back, which I think we've not been doing, have we, for some time. I think Anel's a bit of an underlapping centre-back at times. But we're not going to be in the market for a left centre-back because we've got Robbo and we've got Trusty, whether you think they're both up to the level or not, or do the desired job that you're after, because I don't think either of them do in terms of getting forward. It is a big loss, but you can't replace Jack O'Connell, not for less than 30 million in today's market. Jebo's thinking about signing a new deal, says Chris. One thing that will sway him is a clear path to a starting place. Asula after this season will expect to start. I agree. Asula's definitely in front of Jebo. I think that's fair because he's had a clear running team, hasn't he? Our kid's changed his tune. We're moaning about Diaz the other day. McBurney and Diaz both up front will be very strong and worrying for centre backs. I don't think we'll play them as a front two. McBurney particularly ain't very mobile. For me, we might do. We might, if we want to play an old school Stoke kind of football. But at least if you're booting the ball up now, if you're Wes and you're clearing it long, then we've got a couple of chances, haven't we, to win that header with Diaz and McBurney up there. We'll see. We'll see. Just gives us options, doesn't it? O'Neill will also be around the first team squad next year. How many young strikers do you want? I don't think he will. Is he even 18 yet, Ryan O'Neill? I'd like to see him get out on loan personally, even if it's lower down at like a League 2 level, just to see how he plays in competitive football. But I don't think he'll be near first team next year. What's your opinion on the selling or renewal of contracts this season? Also, if you had to choose one player after Diaz on loan or permanent that's realistic, who would it be? I'd like us to spend some money on a goalkeeper, Aidan. I'd like Johansson from Rotherham. My favourite goalkeeper available at the moment is Mike Cooper from Plymouth. I made no secret of that, and I've been banging on about it for God knows how long. But he's just had a second big injury, and it just makes you a little bit nervous. Not in terms of how he's going to be long term, because I'm sure he'll be fine, and I hope he is and goes on to have a good career. And if we signed him, I'd be over the moon. But I think for reliability and consistency at the moment, Victor Johansson's one of the best keepers in Championship. And at the moment, next season, he'll be playing League One football. Why don't we steal a march on other teams and go in and get him early? That's my opinion. I think the one for an impact, like we talked about on these videos, would be Morgan Whittaker at Plymouth. But we're not going to prioritise that position over a goalkeeper. So if we're spending money, I would expect it to be on a goalkeeper, personally. But I could be wrong. It's been known before. Let's not bring in Sam Johnston. Bringing in injured players, no good. They must hit the floor running. As good as he may be, Rotherham lad for me. Yeah, that's fair enough, mate. I don't think Sam Johnston's injured, though, is he? He might have been injured at some point this season, to be fair. Danny says, I've said a few times, get that Santos from Chelsea on loan after sending Thomas back. Drop Fleck, Jebo and Davies from the squad. That frees up multiple slots in 25. Well, Jebo is under 21, so he don't count towards squad list. Arblaster and a few loans to fill up. So why is he not putting an offer in for Rotherham goalkeeper, says Gaza? Do we know we haven't? Do we know we haven't put an offer in? I don't know if we've put an offer in or not. We might have done. I think Brereton Diaz, Ollie Mack and Archer will work out quite well, and I think it would be brilliant to get Clark from Sunderland to partner up with Macker and Gussie. I do too, pal, but I can't see it. We're not going to spend that sort of money. You've got to think, players like Jack Clark and Firmino and the bigger names that are being touted about. Jack Clark in terms of price tag, so you're talking 15 million plus. Firmino wages, you're talking 300 grand plus, even if they're being subsidised, by half by his club. They're being put out there by agents into the mixer to say there's interest in my player. Whoever else wants to swoop in and buy him. You can't buy into every rumour you hear, and I'm not saying you do per se, but I think that's what's happened, particularly with those two rumours, because Sheffield United aren't going to spend that sort of money. We're not chucking money around. Nor should we. Oh, player of the season so far. I'd have to say Jack Robinson. And I don't think second half of the season he'll be our player of the season, because I think we'll be a lot more attack-minded now under Wilder. I'd like to think we would be anyway. I'm hoping somebody like Gus comes good. But yeah, I think on consistency, I don't think he's been great last couple of games. And everybody knows how I feel about Jack Robinson. But I have to hold my hands up. And I hope that he's not seeing some at Rambles where I've been going at him and he tunes in now to say, well done, Jack Robinson. I think you're our player of the season so far. Because he will put me into Rosehead quicker than... I don't know what. Have you had anything in concrete about a new goalie? No, I haven't, pal. No, I haven't. I wish I had, because it's making me nervous as well. It just needs to be done, doesn't it? That's the position. And I know we're working on it, put it that way. That's the most I've heard. So that reassures me that I think we're going to bring one in. It's just who. McBurney's such an opinion splitter. Love him personally, and we don't have another forward like him at the minute. Yeah, he's one of those that if he's playing for you, then he's frustrating. But I'm sure if he's playing against you, you'd hate it. Not just the fans playing against, but can you imagine being a centre half up against him with awkward elbows? And I'm sure he's, scrapes down your shin and a few other little bits like that. Harrison says, what's the situation with Jebo? I think I've cleared that up for you now, pal, hopefully, because that comment came in a bit earlier. All says, McBurney's such a hard one to decide over. Sadly, it's up to him to choose, or his boyhood club, just like Illiman did. Yeah, no. Who knows? I don't even know that Rangers are in for him, to be honest. I'd be surprised if they weren't, because he's on a free transfer for them at the end of the season, and he will hold some value, won't he? So, and the level's nowhere near as good as Premier League, is it? Let's be right. Got to move on from old guard now. Players like Bash, Fleck, McBurney, Norwood need to flush out, blood the younger youth with a mix of a few foreign loans and rebuild at the end, up or down. I think that's what we're going to do, Danny, but I don't think it'll be the axe will fall completely on everybody. Out of those, I think you're probably right. I think Bash has probably played his last game for the club, unfortunately. I think Fleck goes this window. I think we probably reassess McBurney and Norwood either in the summer, maybe next January, depending on whether they're involved or not. But I think there'll be there's got to be so many changes in the summer. I think those that you can probably hang on to a little bit longer so we don't lose our complete identity as a club. We'll stick around a little bit longer. But I agree with you on the whole. Rifat says it's not Ollie Mack's fault, but we play too one-dimensionally with him in the team. Great point. Great point. I think we play better without him, but then again, we also play long balls up to midgets when he doesn't play. Spot on. Great comment. Any chance of us getting that Jimmy Muir on loan rate player to have when Saturday comes? I'm sure you should all be getting that. And for those of you that don't, ask your parents. Brereton Diaz gives us a fit striker. McBurney and Brewster aren't often fit or available. Other forwards are young and inexperienced. Yeah, he's just a solid option for us, John Inty. I agree. Why don't we send Brewster to Rotherham as part of the deal to bring Victor in? They'd snap your hand off, wouldn't they? They would snap your hand off for that deal. Here's £3 million and Ryan Brewster for the rest of the season. We have to fight for every point, not only the £2.5 million for a place, but the FFP rules and Forest and Everton are under threat. Never know what might happen regarding points deduction. Absolutely right, Chris. I remember at the beginning of the season coming on and saying, look, if we're going to stay up, we need to do it on our own merit. We don't want it due to a point deduction or anything like that. Well, now we're bottom at league. Scrap that. I don't care. I will take survival by any means necessary. If you have to dock Everton, Forest, Luton, Burnley, 30 points each, dock them, send them down. We'll survive on a technicality and we'll go again next season. Do we think Brereton Diaz starts after one training session, even though it's Gillingham? Yes, I do. Well, I don't think he definitely starts. It's up to Wilder, and he may choose to keep his powder dry a little bit. But I think he'll be looking to blend his first team together with a positive result. And I think Diaz is part of the first team. He's also been not starting every game, but he's been playing regularly. He's fit. He's match fit. He came off the bench for Villarreal last night or night before. Must have been night before. So yeah, he's ready to go, essentially. It's just whether the clearance has come through into... Oh, and it has, hasn't it? Because United confirmed it earlier. So we can play him if we want to play him. Norwood will be a great player for us in the Championship, especially on lowest wages, but we'll be on a new contract. Can't buy that experience and skill levels for that wage. I get what you're saying, pal, but he'll be another year older. Will he be 33, 34 then? And he's one of those players that doesn't rely on pace. He's more of a pivot. And with that, you get a little bit more longevity. So I agree. I think he'll be a good option for us in Championship. I don't think he'll be a great player for us, but I think he'll be a good option. I think Gus is one of the we won't risk because of the thigh strain Tufty alluded to. Yeah, maybe so, Ben. To be honest, I've probably leaned too heavily on I'm playing my strongest team. And Gus has got nothing to prove in my book. I think he's not had the season that we're all hoping for, but I think that may change now. He's playing in his strongest position. I keep getting a lot of repeat comments. I don't know whether people are resending or whether it's something up with the chat, but send Brewster out for 20-match run. You're mental. 20-yard jog, pull something. Like internal limp off from Buster Sheffield. I like him, and I think he's got something. Yeah, so he basically saying he gets injured as soon as he runs. We've got to try and get him some consistent game time, haven't we? And he's not going to get that in Premier League with us. Absolutely. Harry, hello, Jimmy. How are we doing, mate? I'm very well, thank you. Thought I'd pop in and have a watch on the birthday now. Oh, happy birthday, pal. Many happy returns. Hope we get a decent result for you tomorrow. And you'll always remember today was your birthday was the day we signed Ben Brereton Diaz, the man who saved us from relegation. Regarding Benny, he played 58 minutes tonight, only one shot on target, didn't pull up any trees. He couldn't pull up any trees. He can't pull up his own socks. He's not strong enough, I don't think. You should sign centre-back Osma Key from Roma. Always on the bench, be a right signing. Again, I'll take your word for that. Thank you to the Ramble's Foreign Scouting Network for your suggestions. Always welcome. Jebbo thought he was ahead of Asula and seemed to chuck his teddy out of the pram when Will got the nod. Might be something to that. I don't know for sure, by the way. I'm just sort of saying it. I can see merit in that because they were always neck and neck, weren't they? He needs to realise that they're completely different types of striker. There's a place for Jebbo. I think the ideal for Sheffield United is that eventually Jebbo and Asula are our front two. Can you imagine that with Ryan O'Neill coming off the bench and Louis Marsh? That's fast forward 3-4 years maybe. Knee injuries with tendons and ligaments normally go on both knees, which is what I think happened. I think Jebbo's thinking about signing now. Hecky has gone and Wilder is in up the Ramble. Yeah, maybe he sees a clearer path to the first team. Maybe he's seen what's happened with Andre Brooks. Maybe Ollie Arblaster gets a chance now. I think Wilder's surprised a few of us, Antti, with his willingness to include youngsters, with his adaptability with the formation. I think it's been really positive. Understandable that Jebbo got all the hype and headlines after his Premier League goal and interest from Everton. Easy for that to affect him. Yeah, it is. That's a good point as well. Well, if we've put a bid in for Johansson, he's playing for Rotherham tonight. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether we've put a bid in or not. I don't even know if we're officially interested. I'd like us to be, though. McBurney's been our only player who tried to win a game for us when the chips are down. Fighting spirit, don't knock it. He's also, I'm not knocking fighting spirit. I think we need that. We certainly need that in our predicament. But he's also the lad who got sent off for throwing an elbow when we needed him and all this sort of thing. So I'll stick up for him any day a week for coming out and sticking his head above parapet when things have been going wrong and stuff. But then he's also not used his head, has he, in certain situations. I'm going to have to speed up a bit, guys. Next time we get an Arab owner, let's get a super rich one. We're looking at Kasper Schmeichel, says Jamie. I've not heard that. I've heard it, obviously. It's everywhere online. I think Sky Sports News, Steve, in our chat, was saying, had linked to it earlier. I'm not sure. I'm not sure we are. And I'm not sure it's a good deal either. Signing so far got to be new midfield coach. Absolutely. Passage of play since he's come in has changed the dynamic of the squad, positioning so much better, instructions so much clearer, playing with a smile on the face. So that's Keith Andrews that you're talking about, Danny. I agree. I think there's been a lot more discipline, but structure to the midfield. I also think he's heavily involved, and I might be wrong on this, but I'm just assuming, due to his connections to the Ireland setup, that he's heavily involved in the Sam Curtis deal to bring Sam Curtis to Sheffield United, which looks like it's going to be another coup as and when that's confirmed. So, yeah, Keith Andrews already earning his crust. Keith Andrews, Mark Hudson. Who's been the better signing for Sheffield United this season on the coaching staff? I'll let you decide. I'm excited to see Chrissy Wilder play Arblaster. I think he could be used right like Brooks said. You never know. Could be the future of this future treble winning club. Up the Blades, up the Ramble. Have a nice night, mate. Wow. I think Ollie Arblaster's got a huge future at this club. Absolutely, I do. We should loan in Schmeichel because Wes is just not up to Premier standards, says Mega Mayhem. I agree. Not necessarily on Schmeichel, but I agree that I don't think Schmeichel is particularly the one, but I don't think Wes is up to it. John doesn't like Jebbo's attitude. He tries to act too cool, but overdoes it. Comes across as arrogant and ignorant. Are we sort of? Is that our perception of him without really knowing? Possibly. Is there? It could probably do something to help that. Maybe. We'll see. Gaza asks if Arblaster can play tomorrow against Gillingham. No, he's recovering from a leg injury, pal. so he won't be coming. Right, guys, I am going to call it there. We've done 3/4 of an hour. This is not Rotherham keeper in, says Chef Paul. With Adam Davis and Brewster going the other way on loan is my preference. Can you imagine that? That'd be brilliant. Offload a couple of ours. But thank you, everybody, for joining me tonight. This is not the last you'll see of me this window, obviously. We love talking about transfer rumours and gossip. And if I can drop you a few bits that I know here and there, then I will do. So come back here for your Ramble fix as and when we're live. But thank you, everyone, for joining me. If you're not already, please do make sure you're subscribed. If you want to go that extra step, you can become a Rambler. Or even further, you can support us on Patreon, which is a huge help to the channel. We will get in that studio one day, and I'm hoping it's going to be 2024, so we'll see. But for now, come on, you red and white wizards. Up the blades! Ramble on!